Nikki, welcome. I am so excited to have you here to talk about branding and how branding can help you deepen relationships with your online community. Welcome.
Oh, it is so wonderful to be here. I'm so grateful that you thought to have me as your guest.
So we're going to get right down to business. Let's talk a little bit about who you are, a little bit about your background. Any personal stuff you feel comfortable sharing with us? We'll dig a little bit more deeply into your services in the second question, but a little bio. Who are you?
Yeah, well, the easiest way to describe what I do is to say that I'm a business brand and marketing strategist. So even though we're here today to talk specifically about branding, I feel like those three things are kind of inextricable. They always go hand in hand together. So that's mainly what I help people with. And I'm very passionate about helping people who are doing great work in the world to really raise their profiles across every touch point so that they can become known as the expert they are and become known for the value they deliver. So that's really the work that I do in the world. I take time to get to know people and really help them figure out what their unique advantage is so that they can then communicate that in a way that makes sense to the people that they most want to serve.
And what got you into this service, this line of work?
I've been doing it for a long time. So I've been working for myself for about 10 years. And we were talking about this actually before we started recording, but I always describe being in business for yourself as kind of like this evolution, because you're always kind of deepening into the work that's calling you forward and becoming clearer about what it is that you want to do, the best ways you can serve, your different strengths and things like that. So my journey has definitely been one that's been a pretty long evolution. Before that, how I came to be in the States in the first place, I was in marketing. So I've been in marketing for about 20 years. Where do the years go? And when I first started my business, I was like, I'm just going to write copy for really amazing women. And so that's what I focused on for the first 5 years. But in that process, I realized that there are some really great questions you can ask in order to really get under the hood of someone's business and find out what it is that they uniquely can deliver. And so the branding piece has really sort of become this signature process that I take people through. And in more recent years, that has expanded into business coaching. And as you know, we had worked together in that capacity, and also mastermind groups and things like that, as well as professional speaker training and development. I help people with their keynote talks. So I kind of do lots of different things, but I love working for myself. And I'm sure anyone who's tuning in who also works for themselves understands that, yes, you can experience some lows, but the highs are more than worth it. So
yes, such a great point and a great reminder as, business owners. It's constantly reiterating and figuring things out, because life, certainly not in a business life, is not static, right? It keeps it dynamic and interesting. And that's what I try to remind myself when the little dips in the road come up. So let's talk about why branding is important for a small business, or a woman who owns her own business.
Yeah, I love that you asked that question, because I feel like we actually have some great examples on the call today. Some people that have joined us, I noticed that a couple of them probably know a good deal about branding because they're in the business of website development. I love that they actually indicated that in their Zoom signature. It's super helpful for people to immediately know, oh, this person does that. However, also, there are two people on this call, at least, who do websites. So how do I know which one I should work with? And that's really where branding comes in. It's how do you communicate, either visually or through words, what it is that makes you different. And there are lots of different things that you can think about that go into that. But really, ultimately, you want to discover, what is my unique advantage? What are those lived experiences I bring to the table? What is the expertise that I have? What is my unique philosophy? What are my specific beliefs when it comes to this work? And maybe you have a methodology or a process, almost like a proprietary method that you have developed that gets results every time you take people through it. So these are some of the different things that you want to think about. And then, of course, I love, Dennise, how you talk about the clients that you most want to serve. I think you had described it earlier as women being in that sort of second chapter, or starting businesses as like their second act. That's what you had said. And I love that, because it's like, oh, now I know exactly who Dennise works with. So again, you might do websites, but who do you do websites for? Do you do websites for mom and pop shops? Do you do websites for service-based business owners? like, how specific can you get? And the more specific you can get, the easier it is for people to remember you, and the easier it is for them to refer you.
Exactly. Music to my ears. What would you say is like one thing business owners kind of get confused about or misunderstand about the role of branding?
Yeah, I think one thing I've seen business owners do is sort of create this brand in terms of, this is who I think that I should be. So I've actually seen someone do this. They changed their hair color. They went from one image to sort of this badass rock star image. And that's fun, right? But like, I wanted to know, who are you really? Because people don't do business with businesses, they do business with people. So I want to know, who are you? What's important to you? What's your journey been? Because that's going to give me an indicator of whether I can actually trust you, of whether you actually have my best interests at heart. So sometimes people think, yeah, they have to kind of create this persona for themselves. And I don't want you to do that at all. I just want you to get really real about who you are. And be that open book, so people really get a sense of, oh, this is what it's going to be like to work with this person.
I love that, and being reminded of that, because you don't want to get lost in the noise of all the things and all the people, and the value and power of bringing your unique self. Like, I like to have fun, right? I mean,
yes, you do.
It's serious business to running a business and building awareness about what you do and how you're trying to connect with people in the online space, for example. But I always want to show up as me, and it might be making silly jokes or showing a cute little pig video. I don't know. But I just like to have a light-hearted approach. When you're ready to roll up your sleeves and get serious, of course, that's part of it too. But I do appreciate what you were saying there. So what are a few ways that people can use branding specifically to build relationship, right? I know that's not a one-off. That's, it could be transactional, but I come from a point of view of it being relational. So investing time in that experience. But what kind of examples can you share that business owners could use branding to build relationships? Maybe it's just the first time they're meeting someone on their Instagram account, or they've been friends with someone for quite some while in that space, if you will. I know those are two different questions, but I know you can answer it.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I like to think about it because I love relationship marketing. I'm all about relationships and connecting and being authentic. And I talk about it in terms of this high intention, low attachment attitude and outlook. So you show up to these new connections, whether it's a virtual coffee date or in-person coffee date, or you're a group event like this, and you show up with the highest of intentions, but low attachment. So it's like, whatever comes from this will come. And at the same time, I feel like it is important as business owners for us to be focused on the conversion side of things as well. Because if we're doing a lot of connecting and it's not actually having any impact, then that's something that we've got to look at. And so now I am actually forgetting your question because I went on a tangent. But I think you had asked me about—
I asked, how can you use branding to build relationships with your online community?
Yes. So one thing that I've been doing a ton of recently, and I got away from it in recent years, it's been so wonderful to start to do virtual coffee chats with people again. So I've literally been filling my calendar, and it's been so fun to connect with people either I haven't connected with for a really long time, or maybe it's just somebody new, somebody that happened to attend an event that I attended and they stuck their LinkedIn profile in the chat. I'm really sort of expanding my horizons. And it's been wonderful to do that. But here's the thing, if you can't immediately describe what it is that you do in a really succinct way, so it's what do you do, how do you do it, and who do you do it for? If you can't hit those three things, then the other person is going to be like, well, Dennise was a lovely person, or Nikki was, she's a great conversationalist, but they're not really going to truly connect with you and your work. Or the next time they're having a conversation with somebody who needs, for example, off the top of my head, a website designer who specifically specializes in helping women in that second act, then they're just not going to know, they're not going to think of you, they're not going to refer you. So your goal really is to always be top of mind for folks. Mm-hmm. And so it's the hardest thing to do when we're business owners, but to really get so specific about what you do that you can sum it up in a few words. And that's something that's really going to help you when you're building those relationships, because at the end of the day, we're being bombarded by so many different things all the time. So we just want you to cut straight to it, make it really obvious. And then if you have things that can back that up as well. So for example, I was in a virtual coffee chat recently with somebody who specialized in email marketing. And that person went to great lengths to say, hey, would you actually mind if I just, and I had said, please let me know how I can support you. And he said, would you mind if I just kind of showed you this thing? So he told me what he did. It was super specific. Here I am now talking about him. He does email marketing, like so obvious. And then he actually showed me the kind of thing that he does for a client. So he showed me the strategy document on all the different things that he talks them through and helps them with. So that's something to think about as well. And it's this beautifully designed document that gave me a true sense of, oh, this is what it would be like to work with him. So now if someone's looking for someone that just specializes in email marketing, I'm going to send them to him. Now, yes, it would have been more helpful. And he perhaps did talk about this, but again, if we kind of need to know email marketing, but for who? Do you do email marketing for everybody? He might be at a point in his business where he's really kind of diversifying and, whatever comes my way is great. But if you're further along, you've really got to think about who are the people that I love working with? Like, what are those client relationships that, everything just completely clicks into place and it just works really well. I like to think about it in terms of taking clients from good to great. So who are those really good clients who have so much potential? And if you can work together, you can really help create transformation for them. So I'm rambling a little bit, but back to you.
No, I love that, because there's two things that I'm taking away. One, the high intention.
Yes.
No attachment, right? You put your all into that visit, virtual coffee chat, getting to know someone, yada, yada. And the attachment is like, okay, they're going to hire me, but it's really building that relationship. So you said that earlier. And then the reminder, 3 things, super easy. What do you do? How do you do it? And who you are serving. Now, Alana has a question here. I'm going to read it verbatim. As you mentioned, it is possible to use your unique experiences to differentiate what you offer from what others offer. However, when she coaches women in their second act, they are often aware of the double-edged sword of being seasoned and I know this, sister, very real presence of ageism. Any thoughts on how branding could help with that particular challenge? Great question, Alana.
Oh, I am so ready to get my soapbox now. First of all, if somebody is ageist and doesn't realize the value you deliver, they may not be a great person for you. If that is the deal breaker, then goodbye, because we know that seasoned means you got some experience. Better than most people out there, because you have skin in the game. You've put in the years, you've put in the work that you needed to get where you are today. Because I have been in business for 10 years, I have a specific process, way of working with people. I'm so much more confident in the work that I do. I know that I can get results because I've worked with so many people who have got results. And so that's the kind of owning your power that I want you to lean into, in terms of, I know, here is what I know to be true about me, about the results that I can get, about what I know, about what I believe, what my philosophy is. Those are all things that you need to embrace and own, so that you're not wasting your time talking to people who aren't a great fit for you, so that you're talking to people and very succinctly, very clearly communicating what it is that you do. And that could be in a conversation, but of course it could also be on your website. And you do need to be able to communicate that as soon as possible, so that when people come to your website, they say, oh my gosh, I know exactly what it is that this person does and what their unique advantage is and how they can help me. So again, as few words as possible, but we've got to get straight to it. If you're delivering a webinar, whatever marketing you might be trying, again, you've got to pull that through and be very, very specific about, this is what I do, this is why me, and this is why you. You've got to kind of bridge that gap in how you communicate. But I could rant on. But
no, I totally agree.
Seasoned is a good thing, so let's see it that way.
And that's a really good point, because I think about that too as a woman of a certain age. But here's the thing, we're not trying to convince someone We're trying to attract or repel. So if someone is someone who doesn't recognize the value of seasoned knowledge and experience, that would be someone you just want to repel, right? So they're not getting it, you know what I mean? Whereas another person who gets the value of someone who has experience and has some proven results and track record to back that up, they're like, oh yeah, I totally get and value that. I mean, obviously that's simplifying it, but totally hear what you're saying. Okay. What kind of trends do you see coming up with regards to branding in the business world or your business?
Yeah. Personally, and in the circles that I travel in, I see a lot of people really streamlining and minimizing the noise, because I feel like there is this temptation to do all the things, be on all the platforms, be showing up absolutely everywhere. And of course, if you're trying to do that, you've probably seen, 10, 100, 1,000 people who are like doing things better than you think you could. It's very easy to get in your own heads when you're trying to be in all the places. So I'm a big fan of doing more with less and getting really intentional about where do I need to be that not only connects me with my ideal audience, but feels sustainable to me. I actually enjoy showing up there. There's something, in that piece of marketing that really speaks to me. And then you're going to pull your branding through that. So you're a great example with these regular calls. Like, you're thinking about how can I uniquely meet my audience where they are with what they're struggling with, and everything that you're doing in terms of the graphics you create, the posts you create, everything is branded. Everything is reinforcing the value that you bring to the table. So I think just really, a lot of people are struggling with the fact that, for example, Instagram, the algorithm has totally turned things on their heads. So you might post something and suddenly you're getting 3 likes, whereas before you got 300 likes. And unless you want to dance around your kitchen, kind of pointing around, like a lot of people don't want to do that. And I know that some people are having great success with videos, but we've got to get really specific about actually what is it that serves me? Where do I want to be showing up? A thing that I've really seen, especially with clients in the past 5 or 6 years, is speaking. Speaking is such a phenomenal way to get up in front of an audience, and it can be a virtual one, and literally just share your expertise, share your story, provide lessons, insights, things that will help people. And you're immediately positioning yourself then as an expert in their eyes. So they're much more likely to reach out afterwards. And it's such a great opportunity to brand yourself. Even if you're not getting paid to speak in the beginning, you might eventually decide that, yeah, I want to become a paid speaker. And I see people, bringing in 5K, 10K, also 50K for keynotes. So there is money out there for professional speakers who are experts in their area. But also there are other things that you can do. You can have a dedicated page on your website and speaker materials that are, again, branded. You might have a one sheet that talks about some of the different topics that you like to do. So speaking is something that I'm seeing, but again, it's really that idea of streamlining, getting very intentional and doing more with less.
Yeah, totally makes sense. We have time for one more question. Karen says or asks, and Karen, you're a girl after my own heart here. What are your thoughts on AI producing marketing collateral? I mean, and by the way, I'm going to be bringing someone in to talk about, because I'm fascinated with AI. So we just need a short answer, because we could spend an hour talking about that.
Oh, I did tell you I can talk a lot. Okay, well, I actually have not processed this out loud before. I do think that if an inability to communicate what it is that you want to say is getting in the way of you showing up and being more visible, then totally lean on it. I've played with it before, and I think it's great. And I think there still needs to be a human element there, just to kind of brush it up and make sure it's saying what you want it to say. But yeah, I mean, go for it. And at the same time, I think that if you can really tune in and use your own words, I think that they're always going to be more resonant. I just think that humans are always going to top the list. But yeah, if you can play with that and it's going to make life easier for you, then totally go for it.
I love it. Thank you so much, Nikki.
Sure thing. Thank you.